Welcome to my New York City apartment. Now, I thought about giving you a regular New York City apartment tour, but we could do better than that. Instead of just giving you a tour of the living room, the kitchen, the bedrooms, and the bathroom, why not break down how this Airbnb works from top to bottom? From my startup cost, to the type of people I book, to the tools and the automation systems I use to make it easier for guests, to the income breakdown, to the laws that you have to worry about, what would I do differently, myths, mistakes, all of that. Let's get into it. All right, so before we get into the specific details, right, of what type of guest book, my first booking, how much money does it make, the appliances that are here, how do I automate it, is it active, is it passive, are there any laws I need to worry about, the furniture, the startup cost, I think it's important that we discuss the why. Because if you're new here, you may not know, but I'm a real estate investor and a licensed real estate agent that's based out in New York. I own properties in New York and out of state as well. So why jump from long-term investing, 1 year, 2 year leases, to something short-term like Airbnb? And the answer is pretty simple. The answer is it is way more active and the income is way more frequent than just getting paid once a month. Simple as that. All right, so I think it would be cool to start this tour in the kitchen because why not? And I mentioned how Airbnb is a lot more active. So this helps me diversify my portfolio. I have a lot of long-term investments, but I want something a little bit more active where the money comes in frequently. Our bills doesn't come once a month. We get bills every day of the month, right? So I feel like we should have income more frequently than once or twice a month. And that's why I think Airbnb is useful. Now, what you may notice in this kitchen is stainless steel appliances. Everything in here is new. This entire apartment has been gut renovated. It wasn't with the intention, actually, I guess it was with the intention we're gonna do Airbnb, but I mean, everything you could think of has been fully renovated. And I've talked about this maybe in a previous video, but these floors, these tiles, the beams under these floors, listen, the beams under these floors, like literally, everything has been done over. We have above the range microwave, stainless steel stove. We have these brand new countertops. We have nice soft close cabinetry. The kitchen is pretty much elite. So anyone who's coming to visit for a couple days, they will have more than what they need. We also stock it with like seasonings, garlic powder, onion powder in case they cook, aluminum foil, plenty of dishware, cups, plates. I'm gonna go over that too because that's important when you're running an Airbnb and something that I've learned. We did a matte black type of look. So you see the black countertop, the black faucet, everything is like, it's not a coincidence. It was really to be aesthetically pleasing so that when someone comes here, they feel good, whether making something inside the kitchen or just looking at it if they don't cook. I really like the kitchen. I think we did a great job and it's not too hard to maintain. Once the guest leaves, you do a thorough deep cleaning and you make sure it's good. You move the oven out, you clean behind the oven. I don't know, I really like it. I'm really proud of this kitchen. Like, once you do renovations, you just get better and better every time. All right, so now right off the kitchen, we have this nice dining table that I got from IKEA. It's pretty good. It's been holding up considerably considering, how many guests we've had in and out. This is my second year doing an Airbnb. There's only a few blemishes that I've noticed, but overall, it's pretty much held up to the test of time. So this table is not large enough where it's gonna take up too much space because the apartment is not that big. However, it's a decent size to at least hold 4 people. We have 4 chairs here and they can eat comfortably without being on top of each other. I really like this table. It's pretty sturdy, right? If you can see the bottom of the legs under the table. And yeah, it blends. It's that same black theme, right? With the matte black faucet and the chairs. Some of this is for style and some of this is for just peace of mind because they will tear your furniture up. Tear it up, absolutely tear it up. Speaking of that, that'll be a good segue into my first Airbnb guest, right? So I didn't really know much about the process of accepting people, reviews, what to look for, red flags. My first guest broke my bedroom door. My first guest was a couple that was in transition between apartments and they needed somewhere to stay. So I allowed them to book, I believe it was about 60 days or so, roughly like 2 months. And at the time I had to do 30 days or more because New York City law did not allow you to do less than 30 days unless you have a license, which I do now. So I wouldn't do that again. But at the time, yeah, and I ended up with a broken door at the end. So the cost of doing business, I guess. Now here we have the living room, which can comfortably sit, I would say, 4 to 5 people on this couch. Although I don't accept that many people for my bookings because, I want to avoid parties and things like that. There's plenty of space here, and there's also an accent chair across from this sofa, and it's a super comfortable couch. It's pretty deep as well, in case someone wanted to take a nap on it, and you can assemble it in different ways so that it can make kind of like, a bed. You shouldn't need to because there's not that many people here, and I have 2 bedrooms on the other side of the apartment, but the option is there. And the type of people that book, let's get into that. I am not that far from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, which is where the Brooklyn Nets play. Even though big Knicks fan here. So a lot of people who come for events at the Barclays, number one, whether that's a concert, a game, they want to be able to get to the Barclays pretty easy and just get back to the Airbnb comfortably. Who else comes? We have a lot of people who are visiting, whether like travel nurses for work. We have professionals, people who come for graduations, people who come for funerals, unfortunately. There's so many different reasons why people book, and you can never just think that no one is going to book your place based on where you are. If you are located near a hospital, a place of employment, a place for entertainment, chances are you have opportunity to get booked, because I've had international guests from Denmark, China, all over France and the UK, all over the US, you name it, Midwest, down south, East Coast, everywhere you could think of, people have booked and stayed here at one point. And they've all come for different reasons, whether that's vacation. And a lot of people come to see Manhattan, but they can't afford Manhattan prices. So they'll travel instead because, a couple bucks to travel on a train versus spending a couple extra $100 per night to stay in Manhattan. So some tips if you're thinking about, getting into the Airbnb space. All right, so this is the accent chair that I mentioned earlier. It's directly across from the couch, right? And it has like this nice lamp that I got from Wayfair. I believe I got it from Wayfair. So it just feels like the spot to read a book, right? You're not facing the TV. You got some pictures across from you. If you really want to just chill out for the night and just turn the lights off, put the lamp on, read a book, nobody bothers you. This spot just embodies that right here. I don't know where I got this chair from. I believe it was from Wayfair as well. And while we're on the subject, let's talk about income and the breakdown, right? As far as what can you make with an Airbnb? What is the potential? Now, this is going to differ depending where you are, right? Whether from state to state and even from borough to borough, because although I'm in New York City, I am not getting as much money as I would get if I was in Manhattan, near Times Square and all the tourist areas. But I'm also getting more money than I probably would get if I was further out in New York City or I was in Long Island or something like that. Depending if you're renting a room or if you're renting an entire apartment, bedroom size, the range is a ton. However, for this area, a 2-bedroom, depending what you have, you could expect anywhere from $150 a night all the way up to $300 a night. It's a big range, and it also depends on the season, right? In January and February, it is very, very slow. Bookings rarely come in. You need to get those booked ahead of time. However, when you get closer to the summer and the end of the year, especially November, December, bookings get up there. You could make anywhere from $2,500 to $7,000 a month. The range is just that big. It's just that large. So there's no telling. It really depends how consistent you are and how good your systems are in place, how many bookings you take on a monthly basis. So the opportunity is there, especially if you have a license, because here's the thing, there's not many Airbnb opportunities or hosts in New York City because how difficult it is to get the license and how difficult it is to keep it. So you can charge up to $300 a night for something that's not even New York City. When I say New York City, I mean not even in Manhattan, because the demand is there. Not everyone wants to stay at a hotel. Some people come with families and they want to have the option of having a kitchen. They want to have the option of doing their laundry, because I have a laundry unit in here, which I'll talk about later, and just relaxing, not having the elevator, dealing with a bunch of guests. Income opportunities is there. If you do it right, you can expect to make an additional $40,000 to maybe $70,000 a year with a 2-bedroom apartment. So imagine if you had a 3, 4, 5-bedroom apartment. I don't know. Woo-hoo. All right, so there's some other items of the Airbnb that I don't know if I should touch on, but I'm going to touch on them anyway, such as this, I think this is like a 50-inch TV. There's a TV in the living room and in each bedroom because you never know. Everyone's different, right? I'm not really that much of a TV person, but some people who do come, they want to make sure they have their Netflix and the Hulu and they can watch TV. They want to make sure that they can watch Love Island. I haven't seen the episode yet, but I heard it's really good. I don't know who Huda is, Huda, I don't know, but I heard it's good. So we keep a TV here. Obviously, you include Wi-Fi, and they can sign into their whatever streaming service that they have, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Hulu, and be comfortable on this 5-person couch to watch your TV. What else do we have? I mentioned the light. We have this table here. I'm going to show you that in a few. We also have, let me show you our bar cart entertainment system. We also have a little bar tray system here in case some people like to make cocktails or mocktails with some really nice coasters. I got these from IKEA. Like, these are dope. These, once again, it just goes with the theme of the Airbnb, and I think it's good to have a theme when you're doing an Airbnb. That way you can stand out, right? See, for me, it's more of modern, semi-luxury, I guess. And some people have different type of themes, right? Some people might do like an all pink Barbie theme, a Finding Nemo theme, something, whether you call it a gimmick or not, but something to get people in, right? So if you have a certain theme and your Airbnb is in Orlando or near Disney World, that can help you, right? Versus just having a plain white walls and regular couches. So we have things like this in case you use it, and people do use it, right? Want to make a drink. So on that topic, it lets me think of startup costs. So what are the startup costs when it comes to running an Airbnb? Let's get into it. All right, so the startup cost for me is going to be a little bit different than other people because, as I mentioned before, this entire apartment has been gut renovated. I mean, we did everything all over. So we took it down to the bare bones. So I bought new tiles, I bought new sheetrock and paint, we bought new appliances, a new stove, microwave, refrigerator, everything you could think of, cabinetry. If you don't have that, you may just be starting with the walls and you're just gonna furnish the place essentially, right? You may not do an entire gut renovation. So let's start from there because that will be the case for the majority of people who are looking to get into Airbnb or just curious, right? So startup cost is going to be mainly the furniture. That's it. And the goal here is to buy things that are not cheap, but not expensive. You want to be in the middle because here's what happened. The most expensive stuff, if we're being honest, people are not going to take care of it. It's not their home. They're not going to treat it the way you would treat it. They're not going to, steam the couch out or not spill wine on it. It's going to happen. It's part of the game. However, you don't want to buy something too cheap because it's going to break easily. And then you're gonna have to replace it. You're gonna be spending more money to replace these items than it's worth when you could have just bought something a little bit more sturdy and durable from the beginning. So, startup costs, couch gonna run you tariffs, things like that. Couch can run you anywhere from $300 to $600, right? Decent couch. Depending on the size you get. That bar cart was about $120. Maybe I could link this stuff in Amazon like affiliates so you could, if you're looking for it, you get an idea. That lamp was also about $100. I have this mirror on that wall that wasn't necessarily for the wall, but I just thought it was a good touch to put it up there. I think I saw it on Pinterest, and yeah, that was cool. The picture frames that are on the wall were from Amazon, and that was about $50 for that pack of 3. These chairs were also IKEA in addition to this table. It was not a set, but these chairs are about $450. It was a little bit over $100 per chair. I got 4 of them. And the table, I don't remember how much it cost, but I know it was more than 100, but I think it was less than 200. So you'll have costs for the furniture, the mattress, right? Here's a tip. Please get a mattress cover. I have 2 on one mattress. I have a bamboo mattress cover, and then I have another mattress cover over that mattress cover because, listen, people come to enjoy themselves. That's what I'm gonna say. They come to enjoy themselves, and best believe they do. So at least you can wash the mattress cover or toss it, but a mattress itself could last a lot longer if things don't seep through, if you get what I'm saying. What else? You will have startup costs for miscellaneous things. So in every room, I have a air conditioning unit, right? It gets pretty hot in New York City during the summer. Right now, I think we're in a heat wave, right? We're hitting 80 and 90, and it is humid. You have to make sure that they are comfortable, right? So you have another $200 per AC unit, depending on the square footage of your apartment. We have cups and the plates, right? Let's get into that. Yeah, let's go. This is something that is also startup cost, but it's also in a way reoccurring cost. So there's certain things in Airbnb that's gonna be reoccurring costs. Paper towels, reoccurring costs, right? People are gonna come use your paper towels and your toilet paper, your soap, things like that. You have to replenish it. Reoccurring costs every time, every month. You have to have you're gonna spend some money to replenish these items. However, although cups, dishes are startup costs, they break. Accidents happens. People sometimes get intoxicated, whatever happens. Maybe they drop them because they're trying to wash the dishes, but they break and you have to replace them. Get some cups. I would probably stay away from like the dollar store, like cupware and things like that, because they break a little bit more, like they break more easier than the other ones. But you know, you're gonna spend a couple bucks per cup, or even maybe about $1 or so. And you wanna have different kinds. You wanna have your mug, right? You know, some people like to have their tea in the morning, so have a few of these, more than you're allowed guests. So if you only allow 2 guests, have at least 4. Right? You need to have your mugs. You need to have something that they could drink their water out of and their juice in the morning. You want to have that as well. You want to have a tall glass, right? Maybe pour something in. And plenty of dishes. And not only that, but you need to have some bowls as well. You know, some people bring kids and they like cereal or oatmeal, things like that. I'm touching these, so I gotta wash them again before I put them back. Yeah, so you're gonna have those type of startup costs as well. So expect to spend, you know, another not couple, but about $100 on dishware, and you want to store some in the closet downstairs or somewhere away from the Airbnb in case things break. You could replenish it without like having to run to the store. And that's like those fixed startup costs. There's the other like miscellaneous things, like we provide our guests with tea, like peppermint tea, ginger tea. It's not something that we, I guess, have to do, but I feel like it's a nice gesture, right? If somebody comes and they come late at night, right? Let's say they check in 10 p.m. It would be kind of a hassle for them to leave the early morning to go get some tea if they're traditionally drinking tea in the morning, but we have it there ready. And not only that, people are big on their coffee, right? Yeah, people don't play about their coffee, so we supply some coffee there as well. Obviously, you have to have a coffee machine, right? Because how else are they going to make their coffee? I guess maybe they can make it on the stove. Startup costs. So those are things you don't think about. And then you need items to clean, sponges, right? All of these things that you probably don't think about traditionally. Maybe I should make like a guide, an Airbnb guide. Don't worry, it'll be free. If you want it, just let me know. Bleach, right? All these type of things you need to have to make sure that not only can your cleaning staff do their job, but if the guest needs it as well, they have it there. So those are some of the startup costs. So just think furniture mainly, right? Well, don't only think that. Think about the furniture, couch, table, somewhere for them to eat, a dining table, a coffee table, the mattress, pillows, nightstands, picture frames, so the place doesn't just look like walls and bareness, lamps, air conditioning units, maybe a working desk for people who are traveling professionals who need to pull out their laptop and work and they don't want to work on the bed. Dressers, all of those things are your startup costs. Now let's get into some other heavier startup costs that aren't just like traditional, but it's things that I use to make my life easier. Now this right here is a startup cost that was an absolute must for me. This makes my life so much easier. I do self check-ins, right? I do check-ins where I don't actually have to be physically present with the guest to let them in, because you never know what's gonna happen. Maybe their flight gets delayed. Are you gonna stay up all night just to make sure that they get in? No, you wanna make sure that they can get in whenever they need to, whenever they want to, without you being there. And this smart lock, I'll link it in the description below if you want to. Check it out. It just makes life easier. Everyone can get their own individual code, and you can control it from your phone as well. So when they're leaving, they can just lock the door without a key. You could also open it with the code and just Welcome to your Airbnb. So that was a startup cost for me that I was not going to skimp on, and this lock is about $249, I believe. As we continue with the startup cost, here we have my 2-in-1 washer and dryer. This is really useful. So this was about I think this is almost $3,000 to be honest with you. This was pretty expensive, but I found it necessary. This serves two purposes, right? This is branding. So when someone looks at my Airbnb, competition was fierce at the time. This helped me stand out. Most hosts, especially in New York City, do not have a washer and dryer in their unit. So if a guest is coming to stay for 2 weeks, they can feel comfortable, especially if they have a child, knowing that they have a washing machine there that can, just make things a little bit easier than wondering what they're gonna do with all their dirty clothes. And when they leave, what I usually see, a day before they leave, they tend to wash their clothes. It's Wi-Fi. And they'll wash their clothes so that they have clean clothes before they go back home to wherever they're going. The second part of that is for the staff, right? You may have a washer and dryer somewhere else in the house or off-site. This makes cleaning a lot quicker when they could just not have to go travel off the property or go up and down the stairs and just use the washer and dryer that's actually in the Airbnb. Win-win for everyone involved. I haven't noticed that my water bill is super crazy from the guests using it, and to be honest with you, some guests don't even touch it at all. If they're there for 3-4 days, they may not even use it. There are a few that will abuse it, not gonna lie. There are some guests that may use it 3 times a day. I have no idea what they're doing or why, but for the most part, my bill is still pretty low, which brings up another thing. Let's get into expenses. So as we talk about expenses, let's move on into the primary bedroom. And there are a few expenses that you have to face if you're going to run an Airbnb. Now you have your startup costs, right? One-time fixed costs. You have your reoccurring expenses, soap, paper towels, tissues. But there are other expenses that you will have depending on your situation. Do you have a mortgage on your property, right? Or is there rental arbitrage where you are renting it for someone else and then you're using Airbnb? Make sure that you're allowed to do that in your building or your state. Light bill, water bill, heat. All of those things aren't the responsibility of the Airbnb guest, right? You still have to hold those costs. So you need to know, can you afford those utilities when guests are staying at your place? There's also other phantom costs that I didn't think about initially, right? I didn't realize I would be replacing pillows as much as I replace pillows. I expected to replace towels, sheets, things like that, but for some reason, pillows didn't cross my mind. And I don't know what people are doing with these pillows. Maybe people, sleep with their mouth open and they're drooling and sweat, or they're using it for something else. I don't know. I'm not judging though. But I had to replace pillows like frequently because you don't want to give someone else a stained yellow pillow. So you toss it and you get a new pillow. What other expenses do you have? You have things break. Once again, people will not use a property the way you would use a property. So things are going to break, whether that is your dresser, that is a door, happened to me before, anything like that, they are going to break and you're going to have expenses. But the main expenses come from replenishing the items. I would say those are the main expenses. Laundry detergent, soap, bleach, using water to clean the bathroom, and something else that you have to think about is cleaning staff. You need to make sure your Airbnb is clean. Please invest in good cleaning staff. That is the one thing you can control. That is one of the main things that you can control. Let's sit down. We need to talk about this. When it comes to guests booking your place, the main thing that's going to drive their booking is going to be obviously the price and how it looks, but the real driving factor is going to be your reviews. What kind of reviews do you have? That's going to let guests know if they should book your place. And there's a few things that drive reviews. One, check-in, such as, do you have clear instructions? Is it easy to check in? Is it not complicated? Were they able to find the lockbox and the key? Did you write a proper description as far as how to get inside the building and what to do? Check-in is really important. Accuracy. Does your listing and the pictures match what they are going to see? That is something that I really focused on. So I make sure that the listing online looks exactly like what you see. Don't catfish them because it's only going to come back to you in the review. So if you know you're going to do a theme, listen, buy 10 versions of the same sheets. yes, it looks like you don't change the sheets, but have you ever been to a hotel and they had burgundy sheets? No, they all have white sheets. And it's not the same white sheet, I would hope not. But there's a standard there, there's a branding there. So you use the same color type of sheets over and over and over again. And you switch it. That way it looks exactly like what they expected to get when they booked your place. Next, we have communication. As a host, how quickly do you respond? Are you helpful? So when you communicate, are they gonna get a response in 48 hours? Is it an emergency? Are they gonna get a response for 5 minutes? I don't know. But communication is one of the things that they score you on as a host. So you wanna make sure that's good. Location. Now, this is not something that everyone can control, especially if you're doing an Airbnb where you live or you're buying something for Airbnb, you have a little bit more control. But location is a factor, not something that I worry too heavily on because it is what it is. And technically speaking, they should kind of know the location before they book the place anyway. And then value. This one's a bit more subjective because it is them saying the value is worth what they received. Now, based on the price, the location, you kind of get an idea of what the value should be anyway. One of the most important things though, at least to me, that they grade you on, give you feedback, is cleanliness. And the reason that's important is because that's something that you can control. So when we talk about what your expenses are, cleanliness, having a cleaning staff, that could be one of your expenses. You want to make sure that the place is clean as much as possible. Don't leave garbage all over the place. They don't want to walk in and see that. Have a cleaning staff come and look it over. You look it over after your cleaning staff. Make sure they change the sheets. Make sure your place is clean because that's one thing that you can't control and that's something that you will get reviews on. Something you gotta take some pride in. All right, so I realized I did not show you the bedroom, like give you a tour of the bedroom, but it's nothing special. You come to the bedroom to sleep and do other things, I guess. It's a queen size bed in here. We have nightstands on either side and we have some nice pictures up here. And we also have a TV in this room as well, smoke detectors, dresser, a little working station, AC unit, pretty standard, nice rugs. Closet that has some essentials such as an umbrella, hair blow dryer, a steamer, an iron, those type of things, and some hangers, of course. So let's also talk about myths of running an Airbnb business, because one of the myths that a lot of people promote is that a lot of people promote this idea that it is very passive and you could just set it and forget it. That is not my experience. You have to have some type of management involved because things go wrong. Different guests ask for different things. Everyone has different personalities. You need something, like there's going to be something that comes up. It is not 100% passive. No business is. That does not exist. And if someone is telling you that, they are selling you a dream. It is work. It is more work than a long-term rental, which is why the income is probably higher than a long-term rental. Now, granted, it could be very, very well automated. You can have your check-in message automated. You can have someone managing messages between your guests, and you could do that from anywhere in the world. You could be on the beach in Jamaica talking to guests, and if you have a smart lock like I do, they don't need you there to, come in and check out. The code changes automatically. It actually syncs with Airbnb. However, if something breaks, if your cleaning staff is not available at that moment and you need to jump in to clean, you got to do it. If you need to get over there because a door broke and you need to work with a contractor, you got to get that done. It can be a little bit more passive. However, it requires a lot of systems in place. It would require additional money as well, whether you have a property manager or something like that. But it is possible, but no, I do think that's a myth where it's like 100% passive. Not my experience. I feel like this would be a really good spot to wrap up. I really like this corner and this accent here. So if I had to start from scratch, there's not much I would do differently. One thing I would do would probably be my pricing. I would come out the gate with lower pricing probably. Hear me out. Because yes, you can see what everyone else is priced at and you can match them because you know that you have similar property to them and a similar Airbnb unit. However, my goal would be to get as many positive reviews as possible. I wouldn't price it too low because you'll attract a certain type of client that you probably do not want. But I'll price it a bit under the competition, and I would set the maximum days to less, just in the beginning, like the first couple months or so. That way I could have a high churn and get as many reviews as possible, because eventually that gives you credibility for other people to book. And when you're charging what you actually want to charge, they won't be second guessing it, because they'll see you have 30, 40, 50 reviews. And they won't know how long you got those reviews. They just see the number of reviews you have. Then you can focus on increasing your price. So in the beginning, I would focus on providing as much value as possible and asking for positive reviews. It doesn't hurt to ask and say, hey, if you really enjoy your stay, we would love it if you give us a positive 5-star review. And I just realized I did not show you the bathroom. So is it weird to end this video in the bathroom? I don't know, but you deserve to see the bathroom, so let's go. All right, friends, last but not least, we have the bathroom. Not much to really see in here, but I wanted to give you the idea of the same kind of theme, matte black. We got this white vanity, or like, you know, cabinetry, because there's no way for you to put anything in here. Like, it doesn't hold anything. It's just a circular thing that I saw at Floor & Decor, and then they didn't have the size anymore, so I had to order online. So I just searched online, really, till I found something, because this bathroom was not that big, so I needed something that would fit but still didn't look basic. And I really like this circular mirror here, which is a nice touch. We got some light up here with the exposed light bulb, which is pretty good touch as well. And we have a stand-up shower. Let me give you another look. We have a soap dispenser. People are not just squeezing out like bottles of whatever Dove or whatever you use, but it's right there for them just to push the button and dispense the soap. I feel like it's cleaner, and low-key it manages how much soap they use and waste, because they were just like pouring it down the drain essentially before. Like, we was going through bottles like really quickly. We also have something to hold our towels, right? So we have towels in the laundry closet, but we also have towels and rags and hand towels in the bathroom as well, stored there just so quick access depending on how much they need. More than enough towels, and obviously we have a wash and dry in case they need even more towels. They can wash the towels they used and, you know, have fresh towels. And then you can see the frame of the shower door, once again in that matte black finish. Try to be consistent all the way throughout, just to make sure that it's like cohesive all throughout the apartment. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That is a tour of the Airbnb. I think I showed you everything except one bedroom, which is nothing special. I promise you, not miss anything. So, you know, that's the numbers, that's the stories, that's what I use to make it easier for my guests. That's the idea how it works in New York City. And yeah, that's the bigger picture, that I do it because it diversifies the portfolio pretty much. So, you know, instead of just getting paid once a month, I have the option to get paid weekly, every couple of days, just money coming in consistently. And the revenue is a bit higher than just getting a long-term rental. And the other thing is, as someone who's been investing for so long, I had the bad experience of having a tenant not pay me for 5 years. This gives me a lot more flexibility because people come in and they go out. So yes, you know, it is more turnover, it is a little bit more work, but it gives me peace of mind knowing that someone can do that again. And that's one of the main driving forces to me operating this Airbnb business. So I really hope you like this video, because I enjoy shooting it. So if you like more content like this piqued your interest, you want to see more of this type of stuff, leave me a like. That lets me know you're interested. Subscribe if you haven't already. And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.